Have you ever found yourself stuck memorizing word lists, only to forget them the next day? Most English learners struggle with this. The problem isn't your memory, it's your method. You need to experience language, not just study it. One of the most effective ways to improve your English is by following real, meaningful stories. They help you see how vocabulary and grammar work together, just like in real life. So if you want to improve your English in a natural way, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to Storylish. The streets of The Hague were quiet that morning. The sun had barely risen, and the city wore a calm silence. Lila had just arrived the night before and decided to explore without a plan. As she walked near the old section of town, her eyes caught something in the window of a small antique shop. A rolled-up map, yellowed with age and framed behind dusty glass, seemed to call to her. She stepped inside. The shopkeeper, an elderly man with silver glasses, gave her a polite nod but said nothing. Lila pointed to the map. "Where's this from?" she asked. The man simply shrugged and said, "No one knows exactly. It's been here for years." She bought it on impulse. Back at her hostel, she unrolled the map on the bed. It wasn't just streets and lines. It had markings, small arrows, dotted paths, and a strange symbol in the corner. Something about it felt less like a regular map and more like an invitation. Later that afternoon, she decided to follow it. She stood in front of a brick wall with a lion's head carved into the top. It matched a spot on the map. She placed her fingers on the edge of the brick and looked down. The cobblestones below her feet were different here, older, uneven. She took a few steps forward, turned left at a corner just like the map showed, and walked past a garden she hadn't noticed before. As she followed the path on the paper, she realized something strange. Every twist and turn on the map seemed to reveal places she hadn't seen on her earlier walk. A narrow alley with green ivy spilling from above. A wooden bench beside a fountain that wasn't on any tourist guide. It was like the map was showing her a different version of the city, one hidden just beneath the surface. At one point, the map directed her to a tiny courtyard surrounded by tall stone buildings. There, at the center, stood a statue. The same symbol from the map was engraved at its base. Lila stared at it, confused and amazed. She sat on the edge of the fountain, pulling out her phone to take a photo, but the signal was gone. No data, no Wi-Fi. She looked around, no people, only birds and wind. For a few seconds, it felt like time had paused. Then, she heard footsteps behind her. A girl, about her age, wearing a backpack, smiled and said, "You found it too?" Lila blinked. "What is this place?" The girl shrugged. "I don't know, but I followed a map." "You?" Lila nodded. "Yeah, found it in a shop." They sat in silence for a moment. Then the girl stood up and waved goodbye. Maybe it only shows itself to people who are looking. Lila stayed a bit longer, sketching the statue in her notebook. Then she folded the map and began to walk back. But when she turned the final corner, the alley was gone. Just an ordinary building stood where the path had been. Back at her hostel, she unrolled the map again. This time it was blank. The symbols were gone. No dotted lines, no arrows. Just an empty piece of yellowed paper. She smiled. Maybe it wasn't meant to last. Maybe it was meant to be experienced once and never repeated. But she would always remember the feeling of walking through a city that wasn't completely real, or maybe more real than anything else. In today's story, you learned several useful expressions like caught something in the window, on impulse, beneath the surface, and meant to be. You also saw natural uses of past simple and past perfect in storytelling, and how we ask indirect questions like, "Where's this from?" or make observations like, "It felt like time had paused." We upload new stories every day to help you improve your English naturally. So like the video, subscribe to Storylish, and leave a comment with what you found most interesting today. See you in the next video.